By my count, Governor Kathy Hochul said the word family 35 times in her State of the State speech yesterday.
Your family is my fight.
Never mind the number of times she said children, kids, or parents. Hochul made her agenda for 2025 clear. It's not the first time Hochul has tackled big issues facing families: childcare, newborn health, help for new mothers. She calls herself New York's first mom governor. So let's look through the eyes of North Country advocates at what Hochul has achieved so far and whether her ambitious plans for the coming year can actually help families. That's today's Story of the Day.
Support for Story of the Day comes from Long Run Wealth, an SEC-registered investment advisor in Lake Placid, providing comprehensive wealth management, retirement, and financial planning solutions. LongRunWealth.com.
Hey, I'm David Sommerstein. It's Wednesday, January 15th. First up, North Country Congresswoman Elise Stefanik is scheduled to have a confirmation hearing to become the next ambassador to the United Nations next week. Stefanik was one of the first people President-elect Donald Trump nominated to be part of his cabinet after he was elected to a second term in November. The confirmation hearing before the Senate Foreign Relations Committee will take place at 10 a.m. Tuesday, the day after Trump's inauguration. If Stefanik is confirmed by the Senate and resigns from Congress, Governor Kathy Hochul has to schedule a special election to fill her seat within about 90 days. More than a dozen candidates in both parties have expressed an interest to run in that special election and become the North Country's next representative in Congress. In other news of New Yorkers joining Trump's cabinet, a confirmation hearing for former Long Island Congressman Lee Zeldin is slated for tomorrow. Trump has tapped him to lead the Environmental Protection Agency. One item we only briefly mentioned yesterday from Governor Hochul's State of the State: a plan to offer free tuition to state and city colleges for students pursuing associate degrees in certain high-demand fields. Randy Gordman with the New York Public News Network has more.
The program would cover New York residents between the ages of 25 and 55 who enroll in associate degree programs in nursing, teaching, technology, engineering, and other fields at colleges operated by SUNY and CUNY. SUNY Chancellor John King says the governor's proposal is an investment in the long-term health of the state's economy.
For example, Micron coming to central New York, they're going to bring 50,000 jobs between their chip fab and the supply chain companies. This is a way to prepare people for those good jobs.
Under Hochul's proposal, the state will cover the costs of tuition, books, and fees for participants in the program and will increase funding for career support to connect students with job opportunities. In Rochester, I'm Randy Gordman for the New York Public News Network.
The former longtime director of the Adirondack North Country Association has died. Kate Fish led the organization for nearly 12 years and transformed its focus during that time. She helped launch programs focusing on clean energy, business transition, and diversity issues in the Adirondacks. She grew the staff to more than 20 people. She retired in 2021. According to an email from Anka Leadership, she was an avid skier, dog lover, and free spirit. They said she, quote, cared deeply about her family, community, and the forests and waters of her beloved Adirondacks. One of the major themes of Governor Hochul's State of the State speech yesterday was children and families. Many of the proposals she set forth have to do with childcare, an expanded child tax credit, and free school lunches. But she made no direct references to K-12 school funding, which was a hot topic last year. Amy Feiereisel sorts through what all these proposals might mean for North Country families.
In her speech, Governor Hochul brought up an expanded child tax credit pretty quickly. It would triple the tax credit for babies and toddlers aged 0 to 3 from $330 to $1,000. That's significant because before 2023, the child tax credit didn't start until kids were 4.
I know personally that the earliest years are the most expensive. Diapers, formula, clothes that they outgrow every 3 months.
Hochul's proposals also included a couple of baby bonus programs, $100 a month checks during pregnancy, a $1,200 payment at birth for New Yorkers on public assistance. Sarah Allen Taylor works at the Child Care Coordinating Council of the North Country, which serves Franklin and Clinton counties. She says these early childhood relief ideas aren't misplaced.
I mean, I think the governor is absolutely right. Families are feeling the pinch, and we see that. Kind of easing some of that financial burden also eases the stress on families as well. And again, that really does affect today's workforce, and it affects the way that their kids are developing.
Also prominent in the governor's agenda was childcare, a major issue for Hochul since she took office. Yesterday, Hochul unveiled major proposals to build more childcare centers, create a substitute pool of childcare providers, and build a coalition to plan for universal childcare. Ellen Taylor says all these proposals are theoretically exciting, but they also raise some big questions. In terms of building new centers, she wants to know if grants will be upfront or reimbursable,
where the provider or program is going to need to be able to come up with the funds to either build a center or do their renovations, and then be able to get the grant money and access it, because that's a barrier that we have run into with some of the other funding that has come down.
Most of the state's recent child care grants have required that providers, mostly women in the lower or middle class, many of color, front the money for expanding child care.
I mean, I don't know anybody who's got that kind of money. I mean, not even a consortium of businesses up here, I can't imagine.
That's Jamie Basilier, the director of the Child Care Coordinating Council of the North Country. She says building new centers, having a ready pool of substitute daycare workers, those would be fantastic. But the reality is that New York child care providers are struggling to staff existing space.
We've got child care centers who've got rooms closed. It seems like we've got to start with some basics and build from the ground up.
She says the new proposals don't really address issues of pay or how to get well-trained, passionate workers into empty full-time positions. She did note that Hochul's huge expansion of the Child Care Assistance Program, which happened in 2023 and 2024, is starting to really work. More and more families are getting enrolled and saving a lot of money on child care. For instance, a family of 4 making up to $124,000 a year basically pays nothing.
There's never been more money than we have today to support moderate and even middle income families.
Savings for families was also something Hochul emphasized in her proposal for universal free school breakfast and lunch. That won't make a huge impact in the North Country because most of the region's school districts actually qualified for free meals under recent changes to income standards. Tom Burns is the superintendent of the St. Lawrence Lewis BOCES.
Fortunately, North Country schools and the 18 districts in our BOCES all qualified, and they were approved for meals at no cost.
2 hot education topics were surprisingly missing from Hochul's address. The first was any mention of foundation aid. That's the way the state doles out school funding. It was controversial last year when Governor Hochul proposed changes that would have seen many North Country districts lose state money. Dale Brialt is the district superintendent for the Franklin, Essex, Hamilton BOCES. He found what Hochul left out interesting.
Especially given the fact that last year she really created a lot of discomfort with her proposal to end the hold harmless provisions and then kind of rescinded that attitude. I was anticipating hearing a little bit more about what she would be proposing this year, and I thought it was interesting that we didn't hear much of anything today.
The most notable thing might have been a lack of educational bombshells, including a potential statewide ban of cell phones in schools. Governor Hochul went on a listening tour last year on that issue and previously promised legislation. But she didn't bring it up, instead focusing on unplug and play initiatives and plans to build new playgrounds and invest in after-school activities. Amy Feiereisel, North Country Public Radio.
We have more news all the time on our website, ncpr.org. Another ask. I'm looking for a new name for this show. Story of the Day is too boring to me, and it doesn't reflect the whole package, I don't think. So help me, please. A name for a daily podcast with news and stories from all over the North Country in under 10 minutes. Send your suggestions to david@ncpr.org. And don't be shy. Just try anything. Again, my email is david@ncpr.org. Thanks so much for the name suggestions for this show. Music today by Evan Veenstra of Gananoque, Ontario, and Paul Meyer of Colton. I'm David Summerstein, North Country Public Radio.